the ancients prepared because they were aware of what would happen to them during pole shifts or solar cycles, and they knew they had a need to shelter in underground cities. We find many of these in what is now Turkey, in Asia Minor. These are pictures of Derinkuyu, and we can see that there are other cities very close to Derinkuyu as well, we'll have pictures of here. But as you can see, it's a whole maze of underground, up to 10 floors down. This is carved from rock, carved from living rock. Derinkuyu is one of 5 interconnected underground complexes with a total estimate capacity for 100,000 people just for Derinkuyu. The historic region is in Cappadocia. It's one of the first areas where Christianity was established in Turkey. The first Christian cities, and they also knew of these underground cities, and this is where they established their first churches. Of course, Derinkuyu was way before the beginning of the early Christian church. So Derinkuyu, situated, contains several historic underground cities carved out of geological formation, many of which were largely, again as we said, reused by the early Christians as hiding places, secret meeting places. Over 200 underground cities, at least 2-level deep have been discovered in the area between Kayseri and Nevşehir, around 40 of those having at least 3 levels. The cities at Derinkuyu and Kamakli are 2 of the best examples of the underground dwellings as well. Now, the largest of the Cappadocia underground complexes is Derinkuyu. It's multi-story, 18 stories, 85 feet deep, with fresh flowing water. It even has ventilation shafts and individually separated living quarters or apartments. It has shops, communal rooms, it has wells, it even has tombs. It has arsenals and escape routes. It had the potential to house up to 20,000 people, and the complex was air-conditioned throughout, with 52 air shafts discovered so far, one of which is 55 meters deep. Some wells were not connected with the surface, presumably in order to protect the dwellers from poisoning during some kind of atmospheric disturbance or raids. Now, Derinkuyu underground settlement was open to visitors just recently, in 1965. But so far only 10% can be visited. Entry is through tunnels that force one to almost crawl on occasion in order to force invaders into single file. One tunnel on the 3rd level of Derinkuyu is said to connect to the nearby underground city of Kamakli, which is about 5 kilometers away. The massive circular doors, as we can see, stone doors, as if they would have the tombs of, for example, the time of our Lord Jesus Christ. They had a stone closing the tomb, and as we know, the women that went to, the myrrh bearers who went to prepare the body of our Lord Jesus Christ with holy myrrh, didn't know how they would roll the door back because it was so heavy. So this is the pictures of such doors that we see here. These circular stone doors are visible at all the local underground sites. They were rolled across the passages and sealed the citadels from the inside. At Derinkuyu, each level could also be sealed individually. And now we have here, I'll leave a link below, of course, for the source here, of ancient wisdom, photos highlighting the scale of the earthworks. It's amazing just to think of all the rubble they would have had to remove to prepare all these 18 stories of all this. Staircases, doorways, wells, ventilation shafts. I mean, they must have had a tremendous construction project going on. Of the 18 stories, only 8 are currently open to visitors. Now, when all these constructed? Well, Wikipedia says that first built by the Phrygians in the 8th or 7th century BC. So that was well before the exodus of Israel to Babylon. And, it was after the establishment, for example, the timeline after the establishment of the city of Jerusalem, of King David. So this is 8th, 7th century BC, according to the Turkish Department of Culture. The underground city at Derinkuyu was enlarged by the Byzantine era. That was about 300 AD, sorry. The oldest written source about underground cities is in the writings of Xenophon, which was about 431 to 533 BC. In his Anavasis, he writes that the people living in Anatolia had excavated their houses underground, living well in accommodations large enough for the family, even domestic animals, and supplies of stored food. Alternatively, they were believed to have been constructed around 1400 BC by the Hittites. So that's much way before. Okay, that was about the time of the exodus from Egypt. Now, the Hittite connection is confirmed by archaeology, but the exact date remains elusive. In origin, the cities are thought to date back to Hittite times, at least 1900 to 1200 BC. Hittite-style seals have been found during excavation, and other Hittite remains, such as the lion statue, have turned up in the area. It's possible that the underground rooms were used as shelter during the attacks of 1200 BC, when the Hittite Empire was destroyed by invaders from Thrace, that's northern Greece. Later, the complexes were enlarged by other civilizations, and the presence of missionary schools and churches and wine cellars would seem to indicate that they were used by Christian communities. Now, there are also another 200 subterranean settlements in the area, although only a few are open to the public. One is in Kaymakli, or Uzluse, roughly 10 kilometers to the north of Derinkuyu. It's smaller and less excavated, but it has 5 levels, and they are accessible. Uzlus, or Kaymakli underground settlement, is different from the others in terms of its geological formation and architectural features. The underground settlement has tufa of different colors. There's only one floor in this underground settlement, which has not been completely opened, but it covers a very large area. In the entrance is a place with 2 intertwining arches made of basalt. Access to the main tufa stone can be gained through a 15-meter-long passage made of rubble stone. The stone places which lead to the underground settlement are more recent than the rock-hollowed places that form the underground settlement. And at the end of this passage, there is a millstone door, which is made of hard granite, and it's 1.75 meters in diameter. That's almost 5'9". Being the largest area in the underground settlement, the main space at the entrance consists of 2 parts. To the right of the main space are storage rooms, to the left are living areas, and on the side of the long corridors are cell-like rooms, and on the floor are traps. There's also Christianized underground settlements there. In the village of Tatlarin, located 10 kilometers north of the town of Asigol, is one of the interesting places in Cappadocia because of both its underground settlement and churches in the architecture of its houses. Its underground settlement, located on the hill called the Castle by the locals of the village, was first discovered in 1975 and opened to the public in 1991. The size of the chambers in the underground settlement, only 2 floors of which can be visited, the presence of the toilets, which also can be found at the Guzulyurt underground settlement, the abundance of the depots for food and of the churches make one think that this place was either a garrison or a monastic complex rather than an underground settlement. Then you have a smaller version of that at Derinkuyu, built on the northern slopes of Mount Idis, about 14 kilometers northwest of Avanos in Turkey, has many strata made up of volcanic granite. The larger areas of the city are connected to each other by tunnels. Uskonak had a built-in communication system of pipes to each of its levels, unlike Kaimakli and Derinkuyu, which have no such communication system. Each carved-out room had ventilation, provided by holes when the city was closed against the enemies. Uskonak was discovered in 1972 by a local farmer named Latif Akar, who was curious about where his excess crop water was disappearing to. Latif discovered an underground room which, when later excavated, revealed a whole city which could house an incredible 60,000 people for up to 3 months. Although only 4 floors are now open, the complex contains a total of 10 floors to a depth of 40 meters. This is on Ancient Wisdom, and I'll leave a link below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.